is rapidly taking over all living things, spreading through air, water, and even touch. It turns human bodies into breeding grounds for infection. The disease is advancing at an unstoppable pace, and none of the known methods can contain it. Every news outlet is covering the deadly fungus that has already claimed millions of lives. Despite humanity pouring all its resources into fighting it, no cure has been found yet. Early estimates warn that before scientists can develop a solution, 80% of the global population could be wiped out. In response, a determined woman gathers the world's top scientists, hoping to save humanity from this lethal threat. Sometime later, in a remote shelter, a teenage girl wakes up. On the wall of her room hangs a haunting poster, a human skull sprouting mushrooms. Meanwhile, at an abandoned farm, two scientists uncover a dried-out human skeleton with mushrooms growing out of the skull. Carefully, they begin collecting fungus samples to study. Suddenly, a man appears, demanding they leave the deceased alone and get off his property. The scientists try to reason with him, but he won't budge. Feeling the tension escalate, their guard shoots the man, then quickly pulls the team back, convinced others might be nearby and the area is unsafe. As they head back to the shelter, they deploy a drone to scan the surroundings. Thankfully, the data shows fungal spore levels in the air are minimal. Once inside the bunker, the scientists begin analyzing the new samples, including one taken from the man who was shot. To their surprise, his blood contains no fungal spores. He was completely clean. This puzzles them even more, especially since infected remains were found in the same stable. They wonder if the environment played a role, but for now, it remains a mystery. In the next room, the girl, Leah, is learning to pilot the drone under a man's guidance. She struggles at first and accidentally drops the device, but on her second try, she successfully flies it throughout the entire shelter. Meanwhile, two female scientists continue their research, determined to uncover how the man managed to avoid infection. Leah's dad stops by and suggests they do some physical training together. Then he pulls out a knife and a mop, showing her how to turn everyday items into weapons. He tells her this skill could be a lifesaver in an emergency. Meanwhile, in the lab, the women are deep in discussion about their research. It's been a whole year, but they still haven't made any real progress. One of them insists they need to focus on studying the very early stages of infection. Otherwise, they'll just keep spinning their wheels. Later, a man inspects the bunker's filtration system. After swapping out the filters, he realizes it hasn't made much difference. There's a leak somewhere, and outside air is seeping in. Armed with this information, he heads straight to the scientists. Dan warns them that even if he finds the exact problem, there's no way to fix it, no spare parts are available. This spells serious trouble if another strong fungal outbreak happens. The shelter won't protect them. When Gustav hears about the breach, he suggests to Kim that they move to another nearby shelter, which supposedly has a functioning lab. Kim really doesn't want to leave, but it looks like they don't have a choice. After speaking with the lead scientist, Gustav contacts Johnny, who's making his way by yacht and is expected to arrive at the meeting point soon. It's time to relocate. Johnny promises he'll be there in a few days. Later, Gustav checks on his daughter. She's quietly reading when he shows up and invites her to go for a walk. As they wander through the forest, Leah soaks up the sunlight and fresh air. Gustav tells her the story of how he met her mom at a pizza joint where he was hanging out with friends, grabbing a beer. She was wearing a shimmering purple dress. Leah admits she often dreams about her mom, how they spend time together, laughing and dancing. Back at the lab, Kim quietly packs up equipment and research notes for the relocation. As she approaches Vera, she stops and stares at her for a moment, silent, like a goodbye she doesn't know how to say. The next morning, Kim seals off the lab. She walks alone to the containment fridge. Vera watches helplessly from behind a glass door as Kim takes a breath and deliberately inhales the fungal spores. Alarms instantly blare throughout the bunker. Everyone has only a few minutes to evacuate before the spores spread. There's no stopping it now. Kim has made her choice to sacrifice herself in the name of science. She's going to document every stage of the infection in real time and send her data to Vera. It's the only way forward. She believes, with all her heart, that her death might lead to the cure the world so desperately needs. The team says their final goodbye. With heavy hearts, they grab what gear they can, don their gas masks, and leave the bunker behind, not knowing if they'll ever see Kim again. Stepping outside, Dan scans the air carefully for spores or any strangers nearby. Once he's certain there's no immediate threat, they lower their shields and move out. After trekking through part of the forest, the group reaches the water's edge. They take a moment to rest, scan the surroundings, and post guards. Through the drone's camera, Leah spots an enemy device firing at them. The sudden attack startles her, and in her panic, she drops the drone into the water. Immediately, gunfire erupts on all sides as the guards come under attack. Bullets flying, the scientists and Leah dash toward the yacht waiting at the shore. Along the way, they grab Jana, who's wounded, and barely make it aboard. While the others tend to Jana's injury, Dan maneuvers the yacht away from the shore. He manages to reconnect with the fallen drone and lifts it back into the air. But the relentless pursuit is too much for him alone. He calls on Leah to help fly the drone. Flying over the forest, they find Gustav, but to Leah's horror, he's been killed by unknown assailants. Shocked and devastated, she screams in despair. Grief-stricken and blinded by rage, Leah grabs a rifle from the deck and fires into the woods, desperate to hit their attackers. Later, Vera pulls Leah back from the edge of her dark thoughts. Jana's condition is worsening, and she needs urgent care. Vera carefully removes the bullet, stitches the wound, and applies a bandage. That night, Leah confides in Jana, sharing her fears. She's already lost her mother, and now her father too. Jana comforts her and promises to protect her, on one condition: Leah must obey without question. Meanwhile, the unknown assailants report back to their commander, who orders them to be more cautious and not to harm Vera. She's valuable alive. Even though the team escaped on the yacht, the enemy has an insider on board who will do whatever it takes to deliver Vera to their destination. The next day, as everyone is busy with their tasks, Leah notices the wind picking up, but no one is at the helm. When she calls out, a man rushes over, grabs the wheel, and asks for help raising the sails. Vera rushes to the winch, but it's jammed. Dan climbs up to the sail to pull the rope himself, but a suddan gust of wind swings the boom and knocks him into the water. Without hesitation, Leah throws him a life ring and dives in after him. She helps keep him afloat, watching helplessly as the yacht drifts farther away. On board, seeing the captain struggling to turn the boat around, Vera suggests starting the engines, but he refuses. Suddenly, a speedboat appears, speeding toward the two struggling in the water. Realizing they have no choice, Leah and the man agree to climb aboard. Glancing back at the rapidly disappearing yacht, Leah asks where they're headed, but receives no answer. Defying the man's orders, Vera starts the engine, determined to catch up with her friends. When the team arrives on the island, they discover a whole community living there. They're greeted by the settlement leader, Ori, who invites them inside. He offers everyone a chance to rest while he changes. Vera is surprised. They live here permanently, even though surviving usually means staying on the move. Ori chuckles at her skepticism and promises to share his secret. Leading Vera into his home, he shows her blue crystals, the key to solving the fungal infection. Through experimentation, they manage to develop it, and it actually works. Ori offers Vera a chance to try it herself, but she declines, requesting a sample for her portable lab instead. He agrees, but sadly explains that they once had a full lab, which was destroyed in a fire. Meanwhile, Leah and Jen witness a heated argument between two community members. One guy skipped his watch duty to go swimming, which really upset the girl. Their fight is interrupted when Vera rushes by, heading to the lab to analyze the crystal. Not wanting to distract her, Leah and Dan decide to explore the area. Vera's analysis reveals a high concentration of a drug that breaks down the fungus's immune system. She shares this with Kim, who suspects the crystal may also harm internal organs and requires more detailed study. But to do that, Vera needs a stationary lab, meaning they urgently have to reach K-76. At the same time, Leah scouts the territory and spots a nearby building. She decides to investigate. Dan notices a boat on the water, and on closer look, sees two men, the same ones who attacked them in the forest. Once they leave, Dan spots a package they left behind. Grabbing it, he rushes to Jen. Together, they unwrap it and find a military drone, the very one that attacked them. Dan realizes the islanders clearly want them dead. Jen calms him and tells him to gather the team. They need to leave, and she'll cover their escape. Inside the building, Leah finds a bound man. It's Johnny, the real owner of the yacht. He's relieved to be found and promises to help them escape. Unfortunately, the men soon notice the drone is missing and begin searching the area. After completing her research, Vera meets with Ori to voice her concerns. She's found methamphetamine in the crystal. While it offers temporary relief, its side effects destroy internal organs. This means they're all doomed, whether by the fungus or the drug. Meanwhile, Dan comes to get Vera, but he's denied entry. Leah arrives and tries to force her way in to help, but Ori stops her, fearing they'll all be killed. Vera's information doesn't faze Ori one bit. He couldn't care less about the consequences and doesn't believe her anyway. To him, she's just jealous. He was the first to find the cure. All he wants is for her to produce as many of those crystals as possible. But Vera refuses. Outside, Dan distracts Leah so she won't see her father's killer. But before he can get her away, they're blocked. Ori rounds up Vera, Leah, and Dan, and orders them tied together, hand to hand. He's got a plan. If they won't make the cure willingly, he'll force their hand. Selecting a member of the community as a victim, he injects him with a massive dose of the fungus. The man dies almost instantly, and within minutes mushrooms begin sprouting from his face. Once mature, Ori's assistant rips one off and infects the prisoners by blowing spores directly into Vera's face. Then Dan's. Leah's next, but before the spores can reach her, a bullet shatters her skull. It's Jen, who had been hiding in the forest on a ridge to cover her group. Chaos erupts. Leah frees her hands from the ropes and rushes to help Vera and Dan. The three of them, under fire, sprint toward the yacht. But fate isn't kind. Johnny is hit and dies instantly. Narrowly escaping the nightmare, Dan speeds away with the rest of their group. Leah radios Jen. She refuses to leave her behind, but the guard knows her time is up. She says goodbye and reminds Leah to obey without question. Moments later, a marauder finds and kills her. Later, aboard the yacht en route to refuge K-76, Leah flies her drone searching for Jen. She finds her lifeless. Dan stops Leah and takes the drone away. The horror has broken him. He no longer believes there's any hope of a cure or a way to change their fate. Vera reaches out to Kim. Kim's condition is deteriorating fast, but with her last strength, she shares a crucial insight. The mycelium isn't attacking her body, it's attacking what's inside, as if the fungus is desperate to expel its spores and escape. She begs Vera not to abandon the research and to save humanity. The conversation drains Vera completely, and she falls silent forever. Seeing Vera's despair, Leah offers words of encouragement. Kim's final message and Leah's hope spark a breakthrough in Vera's mind. She finally has a solution. They must get to the lab immediately so Vera can test her theory. Eventually, they reach the bunker. Stepping onto the shore, they spot two boats on the water. Ori and his men are in pursuit. Leah volunteers to distract them, buying time while Vera and Dan slip inside to find the lab. But it's not easy. When Vera and Dan reach the gates, they're shocked to find a massive iron lock, one that shouldn't be there. Using explosives, they blast it open and finally get inside. Meanwhile, Leah pilots her drone to disrupt the pursuers. She disables one boat with an EMP blast that fries its motor, but the other reaches shore safely. Dropping everything, Leah races back to her team. Ori and his partner land on the shore. Ori stays behind while his subordinate searches for the fugitives. But the thug, fed up with following orders, turns on Ori and stabs him. After entering the bunker, the scientist and the man set out to find the laboratory. Before joining the others, Leah locks the doors behind them. But it's no use. The man breaks down the makeshift lock with ease. Looking around, Vera quickly realizes this isn't a real bunker at all, but a museum filled with various installations and mannequins. To avoid being caught, the two split up and go their separate ways. At one point, a marauder nearly catches Dan, but his attention is diverted by a little girl. He chases after her but loses sight of her inside one of the rooms. Wasting no time, Dan figures out how to switch on at least the emergency red light. Using the dim glow, Leah fashions a spear-like weapon from a mop handle and a knife. Meanwhile, Vera discovers what looks like a lab and radios her plan to the others. She intends to detox the body, clearing out toxins and buildup so the fungus will stop perceiving it as a threat. With a small dose of T-143, she hopes to form a symbiotic relationship with it. If she succeeds, she could save humanity. As Dan descends the stairs, he unexpectedly runs into the marauder. Luck is on his side. The marauder's gun runs out of bullets. The man bolts, hiding in a nearby corner after tossing a small explosive on the floor. The marauder finds the device and hurls it into Dan's shelter. Seconds later, a loud explosion rocks the area. Hearing the blast, Vera tries to contact the others, but there's only silence. Refusing to wait to be found, Leah sets off on her own to hunt down the bandit. She finds him in one of the rooms. Caught off guard by her sudden attack with the improvised spear, the marauder is stunned. Overwhelmed by the gravity of what she's done, Leah freezes, and the marauder pulls out a pistol and fires. With nowhere to hide, Leah falls dead. Summoning his strength, the man finds Vera and drags her away. He doesn't care that she's discovered a cure for humanity. All he wants is to use her to produce his drug. Leading his captive outside, he suddenly hears a voice behind him. It's Leah, she's alive. The girl knocks the marauder to the ground with a drone, and then Ori, still breathing, finishes off the former partner. Vera, fearing the man will kill Leah, steps between them. But the man has no fight left, his strength finally drains, and he closes his eyes for the last time. At that moment, Dan appears behind them, alive and well. Overjoyed that they survived and found the cure, the team embraces. After the credits, two men sit in a stalled boat, asking each other what they're supposed to do next. What do you think? If something like that happened in real life, would we follow the same scenario as in the movie? Or do you think it would turn out even worse? Share your thoughts in the comments down below, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel. See